Welcome to Lagniappe, a program about events, issues, and people. I'm Cory Crowe. I'm joined today by Doyle Jeter of the Northeast Louisiana Music Trail, and also a special guest, Miss Brenda Roy, with us, the niece of Ivory Joe Hunter. Welcome. Thank you both for being with us today.
Good
on
morning.
Lagniappe.
Thank you.
Glad to be back.
Well, it's great to have you. Let me start with you, Doyle. The Northeast Louisiana Music Trail is something you thought about for many years when you were at Enoch's as a venue owner and having all these great musicians roll through. And this area has some of the best musicians in the world, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we've been here. This is our 15th marker to unveil in a little over 2 years. And just the musicians we've unveiled markers for so far, enough to tell you that.
Do you ever think you would have 15 markers that quickly?
No, I did not. We planned on doing maybe 8 or 10 markers, and it's just taken off. People want these. Communities want them. It's been very humbling, the reaction we've gotten from communities. We will have 20 by the end of this year easily, and we've probably got 10 more in the works that are in motion. That's just the beginning. So.
Now you're honoring a great Monroe musician, Ivory Joe Hunter from... Well, he's from all over the place, really. Right, Miss Brenda?
Yes, sir, he was. He was born in Kirbyville, lived in Port Arthur for a while, and moved to Oakland, California for a little while, then came down to Monroe.
And came back to Monroe. What brought him back to Monroe?
From what I understand, he came to play at the Savoy Room in the Roy building, and he met the owner's daughter, Sophie Lee, and they eventually got married. So they moved here and stayed in Monroe.
And speaking of the Roy building, there's a marker to the Savoy Ballroom on the Music Trail. You just so happen to be a Roy as well of Roy building, right?
That's correct. That's correct. And thanks to Mr. Doyle over there for the marker there.
Royalty here.
That's nice. Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about Ivory Joe's career. He got, I guess, really kicking in the late 40s?
Yes, sir, it was. He said that he started music when he was about 4 years old. His mother and father were both musicians, and that he sung in the church. By the age of 13, he was already playing in a local school orchestra, and it went from there.
And had a lot of hits in lots of different genres. That's what I find interesting, Doyle. Anything from kind of boogie-woogie barrel house piano to country music in the Grand Ole Opry.
Well, and like most musicians from this region in particular, started with gospel music and went from there. Ivory Joe is well known, estimated to have written like 8,000 songs.
I was trying to do the math on that the other day, and if you took let's just say you wrote for 20 years,
right? That's
a song every other day. That's
much.
a lot of songs.
Yeah, and many of them were big hits. I mean, standards like Since I Met You, Baby, Blues at Sunrise, my favorite, I Almost Lost My Mind. These are blues standards. Everybody you've ever heard played them. Elvis Presley recorded Ivory Joe. He loved Ivory Joe, as a matter of fact. He knew the real deal.
Let's, Miss Brenda, I want to ask you a little bit about that musical career. Got going in one genre, and how did he find his way through all these different musical genres? And who are some of the folks that, he had big hits, but then he was writing big hits, and people were making good money on his music?
Well, he actually said, I'm quoting him now, some people say I'm rhythm and blues, and some people tell me the stuff I do is pop. But as far as I'm concerned, it's just plain old down-to-earth country. They started calling my songs rhythm and blues back when it started because at the time you had to be white to sing country.
Well, I want to ask you about that. He wrote a lot of songs that, as a black man, he wrote a lot of songs that white people then took and covered, like Pat Boone.
Sonny James, Elvis Presley, as he said, and there was quite a few songs and they made hits on them, as you just said. Cover songs. So, yes, a lot of them.
Doyle, the music business is funny, and the part a lot of people, the music part is, I think, sometimes the easier part. The business part is the part you got to handle up on. Tell me about some of these hits and and how the business part of this worked out.
Well, my understanding is, sadly, I'd never met Ivory Joe. He was gone by the time we moved here, Pennsylvania. But he had business savvy. He had his own office at the Miller Roy. He kept a lot, if not all, of his publishing rights. So he had some money coming in, not as much as he should have. But he pretty much knew what he was doing. And so a lot of musicians were ripped off throughout history, and we all know that. But no, he had it together, and in all areas. I mean, my God, the guy played the Ed Sullivan Show. Then he'd turn around and play the Grand Ole Opry. Then he'd turn around and play the, Carnegie Hall, all over the place. So he was a businessman, I think, beyond being one of the greatest musicians in my mind of all time.
Now, you'll be honoring Ivory Joe this Saturday at a unique place, but it's just down the street. I remember the little pink house. Tell folks about the pink house, Miss Brenda.
Oh, it was not a little pink house.
It's big pink house.
That house was fabulous. It was fabulous. And in his studio there, he had the floor in the shape with the tiles of a grand piano. It was absolutely beautiful.
And it was right there where Target sits now.
Well, Target is now. That's correct. That's correct.
So you guys will honor him right down the street from his house.
At the African American Museum.
Down the road a bit.
Right down the road at Chenault Park, the Northeast Louisiana Delta African American Heritage Museum. Tell me what's going to be happening Saturday.
Well, one thing we've just found out is Tom Neal from the Museum of the Gulf Coast down near Kirbyville, Texas, in Port Arthur, is going to be here. Music will be provided by Robert Wright. Ross Slack at the museum will host the unveiling, and it's just going to be a great gathering at the African American Museum.
That's coming up this Saturday. What time do you guys get kicked off?
The event is from 4 till 7. We ask people to get there a little bit early, maybe 3:30 or so. Gather, listen to a little music, have some refreshments, and just celebrate with us.
That's Doyle Jeter of the Northeast Louisiana Music Trail and Miss Brenda Roy, Ivory Joe Hunter's niece. Miss Brenda, it's a big day. What does the family think about all this?
Oh, we're very excited. We are very, very excited. We're all looking forward to it. Ivory Joe Hunter was really a great man. He was fabulous, and we appreciate you, Doyle.
It'll
Thank
be
you.
It'll
It's
be
an honor.
fun to hear his music this Saturday, 4 until 7 at the Northeast Louisiana Delta African American Heritage Museum. And if it's raining, don't worry about it. It's all inside. It'll be a dry afternoon. This
Thank you,
is
Cory.
KEDM Public Radio.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cory.
This is 90.3 KEDM Public Radio.